Okay, so yeah, it's changing now. Okay. So what I was going to say is if you click on the little bug face over here on the right, um, for some reason I've got something. Let me minimize this guy so you guys can see the full screen. Okay, so if you hover over here in this section and click on it, then you can go down here to PIO Home and click Open, then that will bring you up this screen here. And this is kind of where you start all your PlatformIO projects. You can open an existing project. They have examples. If you click over here, you can say, okay, I want an example, and like here's all the Expressive32 examples that they have. So you can find a lot of stuff, especially around the AWS's Internet of Things. They've got some basic, if you're using the ESP-IDF, which is the Expressive's Internet of Things development framework, they've got a bunch of those examples. And that'll actually bring that project in and you can actually run it. To do a new project, what we would do is we'd give it a name. So like, let's say Hello World. And then we're going to select our board. And so what I type in here is Expressive ESP32, and I look for the dev module. You got to be careful because the ones that say C3, those are a different chip. And this ESP32 dev module is actually the one. It works with the Room 32, the WROOM32 chip, which is what's on our board. And then you can say use the default location, and it will save it under your documents under PlatformIO, or you can actually go out here and let me scroll down a little bit here, and you can actually put it in different places. Like I've been storing all the source underneath a project folder, so when I actually push this up to GitHub, all the code will actually be there so that you'll be able to just check it in and push it up. And then you would just click finish and then it will create the project. I'm not going to do that because I've already got a Hello World project here. So we'll start with that. So what it's going to do is it's going to create several folders. You've got your PlatformIO, and what this is this basically tells PlatformIO what board you're using, what your framework is. So with the ESP32, you excuse me, you can either use Arduino or the ESP IDF framework. So you can go in and set that up. It does not put this monitor speed in here, but that's the first thing I always do. Is I default the monitor speed to 115,200 bits per second. So that way, whenever you launch it and you come down here and click on the serial monitor, it will know what baud rate to set the serial monitor to before it connects to the ESP32. The other thing it will normally do is well, matter of fact, let me go ahead and I'm just going to create a test one so you can see what a blank project looks like. So it'll go through here and it'll create the files. Let me close this out. So here's our test, and if you see, this is what the PlatformIO.ini file looks like. There's nothing. There's just a README in the include folder. It says this is where you should put your project headers. This is where you should put your private libraries in the lib folder. In the test, this is where you should put your unit test. And they do have links for you to learn more about like unit testing and libraries. It does create a main.cpp under source, and it's just a very basic file. It includes the Arduino header, so that the Arduino.h, which is basically the header file for the Arduino library, which will have all the default pins and stuff like that set up. It does a definition of like my function up here, and you should put all your function definitions at the top. Otherwise, what'll happen is if it can't find it, like if I take and comment this out and we save it, it should, if I go to compile this, it should fail because it won't be able to find my function because it wasn't defined beforehand. Well, it looks like it compiled it. Oh, nope, there it comes. So down here, I don't know if you guys can see the bottom of my screen where it said, I can't find my function. And it actually gives you little squiggly lines up here. So what you would have to do to resolve that is put the function up above where it's being called, or come up here and define it like this. And then when we build it, it should compile properly. So if you ever get that where it says it can't find a function, make sure that your function declaration's at the top of your source file. So if you've ever done any Arduino programming, there's normally two functions that are in every Arduino sketch or program. And the first one is the setup function. And this is where you would set up things like, and you'll see when we do stuff with the I2C and with the OLED, this is where you would actually put in all your parameters to initialize the various libraries so that they can be used. And then the loop, what happens is once setup is done, it will automatically go and call loop. And that is actually where your main code is, and it'll just be ran repeatedly over and over and over and over. And so what we're going to do next is we're going to go through like a simple Hello World program. So let me switch over here to Hello World. So in this one here, and it's actually it's not Blink, it's Hello World. I found out today when I was actually trying to do the basic Arduino Hello World, it's to blink an onboard LED, but looking into the dev module, it has only one LED on it. Let me switch over here and share my browser. And this link will be in the kit as well, but if you look here, there's only a power LED on board here. Some of the other dev modules actually have that, and then they have additional LEDs to kind of mimic the Arduino library. So I ran into the issue that I was running Blink and it was working good, except I wasn't getting anything blinking. So we're going to actually go and use a very simple Hello World program. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up the serial port, and we're using the serial library, and we're going to tell it to set up the serial port with the speed of 115,200 baud. And then we're going to use serial.println to print a blank line, and then we're going to say we're going to print out hello from the setup function, and then we're going to, when we get into the loop, we're going to do hello from the loop function. And then we're going to wait for a second and then it'll just come back in here and repeat over and over and over. Now, I'm going to plug in my ESP module here, and then I'll switch. Once this is done compiling, I'll switch over and show you what I'm doing on the module. Let me make sure you guys can see my module there, right? So let's go ahead. I'm going to go down here to this little checkbox here, and we're going to do a build. But what I got to do first is, if you have multiple projects in your workspace, you actually need to pick the project. So we're going to go over here and we're going to pick the Hello World and set that as the default project. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the one for the OLED. Here we go. And you'll notice that it's going to go through, make sure it has all the libraries and everything. Once it's done, that message will go away. So now we'll go ahead and we'll build it. And let me bring this up and make it higher so you guys can see more of the output. So it's basically built everything, it's done. So now what we're going to do is we're going to click on the upload. And what I'm going to do is click on that, and then you're going to see at the bottom, you're going to see that it's going to try to connect to COM3. And what we're going to do is we're going to push the boot button on here. You'll see me reach over here. I'll switch over to the overhead view and show you guys that. So we'll go ahead and we'll start the build, and then it'll say, okay, I'm connecting. I'll press the button and let it up, and then it'll basically, once it reboots, it'll write, and then it's actually running now. So if we come over here, oh, you guys didn't see that. Let me get back over here to the VS Code. So it's basically, once it started saying connecting, I went ahead and I pushed the button, and then it basically recognized it, and then it uploaded everything. So let me do that one more time, and I'll leave it here. I won't press the button. I won't switch over to the overhead view. Once I press the button there, it should come, once it boots up, you'll see that it basically loads everything up. And then you'll get, it's done. And then it'll actually reset it. So now what we'll do is we'll go over the serial monitor, and once it connects, you'll see that it basically says, okay, here's the hello from the setup and then the hello from the loop. And it'll just continue to run constantly over and over and over. Now, if you want to, let's say you missed a message or something, you wanted to start it over, you can go over here, and there is a reset button. It's on the, let me switch to the overhead. So right on the right-hand side, as you're looking at the chip, you have the boot button. And then on the left-hand side, you have a reset button. So let me switch back to Visual Code, and I'm going to hit the reset button. And then you'll see that it actually starts over. So what happens is that resets the chip, and then it goes back and it loads up the setup, and then it kicks into the loop. Any questions?